Hello everybody, this is my first video doing yoga for swimmers. This is a very short routine when it comes to yoga, and we're going to focus on certain parts of the area like increased mobility in the ankles, the strengthening the back because we don't use our back muscles a lot in swimming, and lots of stretches for the front of the chest. And also we're going to finish with some breathing. So that allows you to breathe deeply into your abdominals, which should hopefully help you to breathe better when you swim. So without further ado, let's just begin the session. Sitting in hero's pose by sitting on your heels. We are going to roll the shoulders out for a couple of rounds, and then we're going to come on to our first pose, which is the foot stretch. You're going to be sitting on your heels, toes curled under, sitting up nice and tall, and this allows the weight of the gravity to push the foot down. And we're going to also mobilise the shoulder by doing shoulder circles and placing our hands onto our shoulders, and then we're going to roll them back. And then we're going to reverse the circle, feeling the stretch in the front of the chest. We're going to open up the arms, and we're going to hug in, and we're going to breathe in, we're going to open out, and breathe out. Just moving the spine in undulating motion, looking up, and curling them in. If it's too much on your toes, you can just come onto the top of the feet by uncurling them and sitting down in this position. And we're going to come onto our bottom. We'll do a shoulder mobility. We're going to place our hands behind us, and we're going to slowly rock our knees forward and back. Starting off by doing small movements. You don't have to touch your knees to the floor. And once you feel a bit warmer, you can try to see where you can touch the knee, but you don't have to. As long as you're feeling the stretch in the front of the chest and the shoulders, that's what we're looking for. Be very gentle with this. Don't force. Just go with the breath. Okay, well now we're going to come on to our top of the feet again, and we are going sitting on our heels. We'll do an ankle stretch by lifting our knees, alternating up and down. Again, just start with small movements, see how you feel, and then increase the range if you want to. But again, this can be quite uncomfortable on the ankles, so just work with your level. And then if you feel really confident, you can lift both knees off the floor. Again, if it's too uncomfortable, just do alternating. Okay, we're going to come on to our tabletop position. We are going to do a cat and cow. So we're going to inhale, looking up and arch your back. And then exhale, we're going to hunch our back into the sky. Inhale into the cow, arch your belly down, and exhale, hunch your back to the sky. And noticing how you're curling and uncurling the toes with each move. And just think about you're moving from the hips, from the pelvis. So you just make sure that when you go into the cat stretch, which is the upper back hunching up, you're tucking your bum under. And this is a really good exercise to do if you have a tight back, or if you've been sitting down all day, or the first thing when you wake up in the morning. And then we're going to work into the core now by lifting the knees off the floor and slowly come down. Inhale, looking up into the cow, and lift the knees away from the floor. So you're going to work into the core as well as stretching the ankle. Again, this is a good one for the ankles, as we can get some tight restrictions in the ankle that's stopping us from kicking with pointed toes in the water. And then now we're going to do thread a needle, And we're going to inhale, bring arms up into the ceiling. Exhale, thread it through the opposite armpit. Bring a head on the floor. Inhale, open up. So we're twisting from the top of the back, so the thoracic spine, and using the arm as a lever, as a guide to twist. And I'm going to just switch directions just a little bit so you can see where my hands and arms are going on the floor. So it's right across the floor. It's just really good to open up the whole of the whole body, the back and the shoulders. And then once I'm done, we're going to stay in this position, lifting up the opposite arm and bring it over our ear. So now we have a lovely side stretch on the right side while stretching the outer shoulder on the other side, on the left side. If you want a bit of a challenge, you can wrap the hand behind your back and wrap the fingers around the opposite thigh. Lovely. And when you're ready, gently push yourself up, and we're going to repeat the same sequence on the other side. So inhale to open, exhale to thread it through. Inhale to open, exhale to thread it through. Just notice how the hips is in line with the knee. Just keeping that alignment to get the most out of this exercise. Again, once I'm done, I'm going to hold it for a few seconds. If you're comfortable here, stay here. If you want a little bit more, bring the upper arm and over the ear. Give yourself a really nice side stretch on the other side. And if you want a little bit more, you can wrap it behind you and then have the fingers touching the opposite thigh. Again, connecting with the breath. Lovely. When you're ready, push yourself back onto tabletop. And then we're going to come down in a quick down dog, lifting your bum up into the ceiling, straight arms, straight legs. You don't have to push your heels to the ground, but trying to aim to get to the ground. But the most important thing is straight arm and straight legs. And come down. Now we're going to do another stretch for the front shoulder. We're going to snake down onto our belly. We're going to open arms out to a T shape. And then we're going to rest one cheek on the side. So we'll roll over on the side, placing the left leg behind you and the feet stabilize your back on the ground. And we're going to lift up the left arm and try to reach behind to grab hold of the right fingers so we can interlace the hands together. If you can't touch the hands, don't worry, just keep the left arm in front of you to support and just use the body weight to slowly roll backwards. So now we have a stretch on that right shoulder, on the front of the right shoulder. And when you're ready, you're going to come back into the same side, switch sides. So now I can see where my feet are placed. And then see from here how my hands are trying to interlace behind. I'm just trying to straighten up, make sure I'm aligned. Again, if you can't do this, that's fine. Just keep that right hand in front of you to support it and use that hand to roll back. And when you're ready, we're going to release the grip and we're going to come out to our child's pose, and we're going to snake forward, coming up into the cobra, and push it back into child's pose, snake forward onto our belly into the cobra. So we're waving forward, getting some motion through the whole body, warming up the knees, the hips, the arms, and a really nice stretch for your back. Good. Stay in the cobra for a couple of seconds and slowly lower yourself down onto the floor. Bring your arms straight in front of you. We're going to do the alternating swimmer. So we're going to keep our head in line with the spine and lift the arm and the leg up in a straight line, as straight as possible, and lower them. Again, we're going to lift opposite arm and leg and coming down. So now we're working the glutes and the shoulders. So we're building some strength in those areas, which is so important in swimming, because if we don't use the glutes to kick, we are going to end up having sinking legs. So it's very important to activate the glutes in this. And in here, we're reaching and lengthening. Think about you reaching forward and then you're trying to lift, rather than just lifting up and down. Your face is hovering off the floor, but neck stays in line with the spine. And then when we've done that, we're going to push ourselves into a child's pose, breathe into the space. Just give yourself a bit of a rest here. Coming on to our bellies again. This time we're going to do the same motion, but just a little bit quicker. And we're going to have the feet and the arms hovering on the floor. So this is now really going to get into the coordination part as well as the strength. If you find it's a struggle to do it quick, we just go back to the slow version we did before. And they can practice this in your own time and just increase the speed each time. Lovely. And then we're going to push ourselves back into the child's pose again to reset. Breathing into the belly, breathing into the space. And snaking forward onto our fronts. Okay, this time I'm going to lift both arms and leg off the floor into reverse bow. Again, inhale to prepare, exhale to lift. Again, you can either hover the legs or you can just rest them down onto the floor in between. So now we're really activating the whole back and the glute. And try to work from the middle. So you strengthen your lower back. And then try to peel everything off the floor using the whole of your rear posterior chain. And then now we are going to just hold that position and prepare. And we're going to lift and hold in that position for a few seconds. Again, squeezing the glutes, point the toes, and then rest your arms down. And then sit back into the child's pose again, breathing into the space. Okay, now we're going to do a different very locus position. We're going to bring our hands together with our thumbs touching, the fingers interlaced, and we're going to place this hand position in between our legs, and we're going to roll onto our front and tuck your elbows as close to the center line as possible. Have your legs straight, feet hip width apart. Make sure it's right in the center, and we're going to place our chin on the ground. What we're going to use is to lift our legs alternating up and down. So this is where we continue to activate the glutes, strengthen the glutes. And make sure that we do not twist the hips as we lift. Try to keep the hips facing down as much as possible. Okay, now we're going to lift both legs off the floor. So inhale to prepare, exhale trying to tighten the glutes and lift the legs straight up in the air as high as you can. Again, if you can't do this, just go back to the alternating legs, and even just a couple inches off the floor, it's fine. Lovely. Release the hands, and then we'll sit back into child's pose again. Okay, lovely. Now we're going to come onto our bellies. We're going to do a cobra. So cobra holds. We're going to lift our upper back off the floor. Again, using our shoulder blades, squeezing the arms together, and come down. So inhale, lift, squeeze, and slowly come down. Good. And lift and squeeze. We'll hold for about 5 seconds, and total of 5 sets. So make sure you squeeze your butt in this one to get the height in the lift, but making sure the feet stays down on the floor. We're not lifting the legs in this one. It is very tempting to lift them, especially when you're squeezing your glutes, but trying to keep your feet on the floor. Lovely. And place your arms down by the side, rest in the cheek, and then we are going to go into the next one, which is a locust, another variation of the locust. We are going to bring the arms behind, lifting up both body and legs. We're going to come down. We're going to lift up again. This time I'm going to sweep our arms out to the side and front, and then sweep it back and come down in this motion. So we're going to lift up, sweep, and back. So it's a bit like the butterfly in swimming, the bottom part of the butterfly. And the idea is now to activate the rear deltoids, which is the muscles on the shoulders, so the rear shoulder. And then get used to integrating the lower and the upper body. So hopefully when you come to swimming, everything will be synchronized. Okay, the last one, we're going to interlace the hand behind our back. Okay, we're going to lift up everything off the floor for one more time, as high as possible. Open up the chest. And slowly come down. Okay, see yourself back into child's pose. Resting your hips on the ground. Okay, now we're going to work into the shoulder, so building some strength and mobility. We're going to go to the dolphin plank, so we're going to place our hands in a tripod position, interlace fingers together, lifting our hips up into the ceiling, straight legs. So this is the dolphin pose, and we're going to come into the plank from the dolphin. Again, lifting up the hips into the dolphin and into the plank. So we're lifting up and down from the hips, while keeping our forearms on the ground. So this really puts some strength in the shoulders, and as well as warming up the shoulders, which is a really good exercise for both mobility and strength. If you really want a challenge, you can move your chin past your hands and try to touch your chin to the ground to get that bit of extra strength. But if you can't do that, just fine, just stay with the dolphin plank, keeping your head in line with the hands. And then when you're done, we're going to rest our legs down on the ground. Now we're going to split our hands, keeping our forearm in line with the shoulder. And then we're going to lift back into dolphin. So now we have our arms separated. And we're going to lift up the right leg as high as possible, stretching the supporting leg, and lift up the left leg so we get a lovely stretch on the hamstrings on that straight leg. And then when you're done, we're going to come into another variation dolphin plank, but this time we're walking our feet forward and back. So we're going to inch our feet little by little towards our body. So your hip is almost in line with the shoulder and coming down. This is a really good one for the core. So we're working into the core strength on this, as well as a bit of your flexibility in your hamstrings. Again, if you can't get the hips all the way in line with the shoulders, it's fine. Again, we're just working and building the strength in the arms. Lovely. Rest your belly onto the ground, coming down, resting one cheek to the side. Okay, and the next we are going to do a plank exercise. So we are going to come onto our forearms again. Now we're going to place the arms in line with the shoulder, and then we're going to just rock forward and back on our toes. So this is a bit like a saw, so we call this a saw plank. You can see in the video I should have actually had my hips a little bit lower, so it's a bit more in line with the shoulder. And so if you can lift your hips down a bit more, so it's a bit more flatter, please do so. And rest your knees on the ground. And we're going to open up our chest, interlace the hand behind our back, just to give your chest a bit of a stretch, to counteract the forward bending motion of the arms. Now we're going to do a plank hip twist. So come onto your forearm plank again, and we're going to just twist the hip side to side. So dip the hip as far as you can, one side to the other. And we're going to aim to do 20 repetitions, so 1 on each side. Again, trying to keep your feet together. So imagine you have an elastic band tying your ankles together. They don't move. Again, trying to keep the hip as low as the shoulders. Again, when we're done, just come back onto our heels, and we are going to interlace the hand again to open up the chest. Again, doing a foot stretch like we did in the beginning of the session. Okay, now we're going to come and do a side plank roll. So now we're going to have the forearm parallel horizontally to each other. And we're going to roll to one side. So the easier version is having your knee down on the floor and lifting one leg up, and then rolling to the other side. Notice how I'm using my elbow as a lever, as a guide to turn, but we're trying to keep our body balanced by not going over too much. The harder version is having your knees off the floor, can hear. Again, we're aiming to do 20. So 1 is one side, and then the other side would be the second rep. Squeezing the core, squeezing the obliques, which is the muscles on the side of your abdominals. Just imagine you have a line, a skewer right going through the center of your body into the head, and you're rotating on the axis. So in swimming, when we do our breathing, we breathe to the side. Again, we're aiming to rotate in a similar manner by keeping that straight line all the way through. And let's rest the knees onto the ground. Sit back onto our heels, open up the chest, interlace the hand behind, looking up. And just appreciate the openness of this stretch. Okay, we're going to come out to a plank on our hands. We'll do a full plank. Squeeze the core, have your feet close together as possible. And then we're going to come to a down dog. Again, stretching the legs, stretching the arms, lifting up the right leg. And we're going to do a three-legged dog into a knee tuck. So we're going to breathe in, lift up the leg, and breathe out, tuck the knee towards your chest as close as possible. And do this dynamically 10 times on each side. So again, you don't have to lift the leg as high as this. You can just lift as far as you can, but try to keep the knees as close to your chest as possible coming in, because this is where we're going to activate the core. Again, make sure you point your toes. It's very important you're trying to point your toes in this one. It will just help you to lift a little bit closer towards your chest. And when you do a three-legged dog, try not to over-rotate the hips. So just try to aim to get the hips close and parallel to the floor. And when we're done 10, we're going to bend the knee to one side. We're going to try to flip over and do a wild thing. So this one is to open up the front of the body. It can be quite a scary thing to do at first if you've not done this before. So I suggest you to pause the video, go back and watch it first before trying it. Or likewise, if you don't want to do it, you can always ask me next time you see me face to face. When we've done that, we're going to open up and rest. Okay, let's do the same thing on the other side. So three-legged dog to a knee tuck. 10 reps. And then after the 10, bending the knee, you open into the wild thing. And the breath is inhale to lift up, and exhale to tuck the knee to the chest. When you tuck the knee, squeeze the core in as much as you can to bring the knee closer to you. Okay, we've done 10. We're going to bend that knee, open the hips out, opposite shoulder, and then just keep the arm on the shoulder and allow the leg to drop. Once that's dropped, use that bent knee to push the body up into the sky and just allow yourself to rest and relax into this. And then we're going to flip that over and come to our heels. Open up the chest again. We're going to do a couple of wrist circles just to loosen off the wrist. Okay, we're going to come out to our planks. We're going to do a side-to-side rotation plank, but this time in a full plank position with knees off the floor. Again, easy version is when you have your one leg behind to support you. So we're going to roll side to side. This is the easier version, as you can see. Now feet bend behind to support. Or the harder version with feet stack on top of each other. Again, squeeze the obliques as high as you can. Again, don't over rotate the arms because that can cause you to over rotate and fall backwards. So just imagine you've got that 180-degree line from one arm to the other. Very important to make sure your shoulder is aligned with the wrist, because if you don't align them, it can just put a lot of strain on the shoulder. Again, we're going for 20, so that's 10 on each side. Very important to squeeze the abdominals throughout, squeezing the core and squeezing the glutes as well. And lovely. Sit back onto our heels once you're done and just do more wrist rotations, open up the chest and loosen off. And we're going to come out to our down dog, lifting up nice and high, and just slowly walk your feet towards the front of the mat. We're going to come into a forward fold by hugging our elbows together and let the gravity do the work by pulling the head further to the floor. And you can sway yourself side to side and then place your fingertips on the floor and sweep your arms up as high as possible behind and swinging down. Now we're doing some arm sweeps. We're going to inhale, sweep up, arching the back. Exhale, come down, bend the knees slightly and come up. Make sure you come up with a flat back. Exhale to float down, inhale up. So now we're going to stack our hands on top of each other in a streamline position like we normally do in swimming. Again, just open up the front body. And as well as a bit of relaxation as you fall down. So now we're going to come onto our tippy toes on the arm sweep. So staying with the arm sweep, now we're going to just finish off on the tippy toes. Just increase the length on the stretch from fingertip to toe, making yourself as long as possible. So I can see my hands stack on top of each other. Now we're going to do side bends where I'll streamline arms. So I also call it a rocket arms. So when we push off and glide in water, this is the hand position we have. And then we're just doing bending to our side, just get some mobility in the side body. You might notice that you might have one side more mobile than the other. That's fine, just pay attention to the area that's stiff and just work into that. Okay, we're going to sweep our arms up in the ceiling. We'll come down to a forward fold and inhale, we're going to come onto your fingertips. We're going to step the left foot back knee down into a low lunge. So now we're going to stretch the hip flexors slightly, but we're going to move the hips back and then we do a quad stretch by bringing our back foot towards our buttocks. Okay, this can be the easier version, or if you want to make it harder, this is the easier version, one hand on the thigh, or both hands on the foot. Again, if this is too much for you, you can always grab a scarf, wrap it around behind the foot, and then try to hold onto the scarf that way. Okay, to make it harder, if you're quite mobile in the thighs or your joints, you can try to lean forward and bring the hand on the outside of the foot and bring it closer. Again, if you've got bad knees with this, I would not recommend doing this at all. Just your normal quad stretch by standing up. Okay, and we're going to sweep the arm up, the leg up when we're done, and we're going to step that right foot in between our hands, coming up into the high crescent lunge. And then exhale, hands down onto the floor and stepping the back foot to meet the front. Good. Inhale onto your fingertips, exhale, forward fold, and coming up into arms sweep. And exhale, come down. We're going to do the same sequence on the other side. We're going to step the right foot back this time into a low lunge. And then we're going to shift our hips back in line with the knee, do the quad stretch. Then can you place one hand on the other thigh to make it a little bit easier, or both hands, just a little bit difficult. Or if you might make it harder, just come forward and then bend that leg closer towards your buttocks and looking over your opposite shoulder. Release the hands and the grip. I'm going to sweep out the left leg into the sky, and then step that left leg in between the hands, coming up to the high crescent lunge. Exhale, hands onto the floor, back leg up into a forward fold, and then coming up into standing, arms up, and exhale, hands down again, forward fold. Inhale, looking forward. Exhale, we're going to step this time, jump both legs back if you can onto the plank, coming down into a low plank and come up to the cobra. Just stretch out the front of the body, and then into down dog. Lift up the right leg up into the ceiling, stepping in, and left leg up, and then slowly bring the leg down. And now we're going to come and jump to the front, forward fold, and inhale up. And now we're going to do warrior 3. So warrior 3 is a balance pose. It's really strengthened the quads, your supporting leg, and also it works your core as well. So this is the ideal position where you're making a lovely T shape from the fingertips all the way to the heels, flexing that foot. Okay. If it's too much for you, you don't have to go as low, just come at an angle. So start from the top and slowly angle yourself down until you can get to here. If you can't, you can always just come into a 45-degree position, but ideally this is what we're looking for. So imagine trying to push the wall away with your heel, and you lengthen the arm and slowly stand up. So this is really good for stability in the hips. And we're going to do that again. So again, we can do this time with the toes pointed, coming up, and then do one again, same side, just getting some dynamic movements into that movement. So now you're working a bit on the balance. Lovely, let's change sides. Do 4, 5 on each side. So by working on your balance, it will just help to improve your body awareness, and especially in the water when it can be quite deceptive, so you can't feel yourself as much in the water. But by regularly doing these, it will help you to coordinate the body and the arms. So when you're trying to swim together and to improve certain areas, you will be able to feel what you're doing. Lovely. Okay, we're going to just give ourselves a bit of a shake out. Let's come up again. As you inhale, exhale, forward fold. We're going to come to the ground now. As you inhale, looking up into halfway, and exhale, jump or step back into plank, and low into chaturanga, into up dog or cobra, and then we're going to come to down dog. Okay, we're going to bend both knees and we're going to try and jump to sit our bottoms to the floor. Again, watch first. but you don't have to do that. You can just step into sit down if you want to. Okay, we're going to finish off the session by doing some abdominal breathing. So we're going to place our hands on the abdominals, and then breathe in, your belly comes out, and breathe out, belly comes in. So breathe out, belly comes in, breathe in, belly comes out. So you can place one hand on your abdomen. So as you breathe in, you should be able to feel your belly rising against your hands. We're going to start off by doing count of 4. So breathe in for the count of 4. And exhale for the count of 4. Inhale for count of 4. Exhale, coming down a count of 4. Inhale for 4. Exhale for 4. Inhale for 4. Exhale for 4. Inhale for 4. Exhale for 4. We'll do this 4 rounds. Inhale for 4. Exhale for 4. Okay, now we're going to go into exhale for 6. So we'll now increase the length of the out breath. So inhale for 4 and exhale for 6. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6. Okay, you can try to count this your own time. So every person count is different. You'll just have to find what works for you. But as long as you're increasing the exhalation to your count is all that matters. Now we're going to try to do a count of 8 on the exhalation. So now we're going to increase the exhalation to a count of 8. So this is where you're going to have to economize the breathing, so you're not breathing out too much before the count's finished. So it might help if you just narrow the back of the throat as you exhale. And imagine you have a pinhole in your throat, and the air is just slowly coming out from that pinhole. And when we breathe in swimming, we breathe out in the water. And when we're done, we're going to just stretch our legs down, bring our arms behind us, stretch the fingertips to toe. We're going to hug our knees towards our chest, and then bring the right knee, and then we're going to bring that across to a lying twist. So looking over your right shoulder, bring your right knee across to your left, using your left hand to hold the knee down, and then stretch. And then we're going to come back, hug the knees in again just to reset, and then we're going to do the same stretch on the opposite side. And just relax into the stretch. Okay, let's hug the knee, chest in one more time. And then stretch your legs out. And then we're going to roll over to one side and then slowly sitting up. We're going to finish off the session by breathing 3 rounds. Inhale, arms up, hands to press, bring it down to the middle. And inhale for 2, lifting up nice and high, and stretch it down into prayer. Inhale for 3, gather up energy, and then come to the center. And then give thanks to yourself for doing the session. Thank you.